The Mariana Trench is so deep that if Mount Everest were placed inside it, more than 2 kilometers of water would still separate its summit from the surface. At the bottom, sunlight is gone. The temperature sits only a few degrees above freezing. Pressure rises to roughly 1,000 times what we experience at sea level. For a long time, this seemed like the closest thing Earth had to an empty world. Then scientists began sending cameras, landers, submersibles, and sampling equipment into the darkness. They found fish surviving under pressures that should deform ordinary proteins. They found industrial pollution at full ocean depth. They found sediments far more biologically active than expected, and they discovered microbial communities carrying genetic solutions we are only beginning to understand. But the strangest mystery is still ahead, because the wider Mariana system may help researchers investigate something far more fundamental: how life survives when sunlight disappears and chemistry becomes the only source of energy. Number 5. Why do fish disappear before the trench ends? One of the Mariana Trench's most remarkable animals is the Mariana snailfish, Pseudoleparus suire. It does not look like a creature built for one of Earth's harshest environments. Its body is pale and translucent. Its skeleton is lightly mineralized. Parts of its skull remain incompletely ossified. It lacks the heavy body armor you might expect from an animal living under crushing pressure. That is exactly the point. The Mariana snailfish has evolved a body designed around pressure tolerance rather than brute strength. Studies of its genome and anatomy have identified changes associated with flexible bones, membrane function, and protein stability. In 2026, researchers studying the fish in its natural environment also found that it moves slowly and efficiently, conserving energy in a world where every meal matters. Yet even this extreme specialist has a limit. Snailfish dominate the deepest known fish communities, but fish observations stop well before the deepest floor of Challenger Deep. Below that boundary, the trench keeps descending. Other animals, including amphipods, survive farther down. So why do vertebrate fish apparently reach their limit first? One leading explanation is that eventually the pressure becomes increasingly difficult for vertebrate biochemistry to overcome. And that means the bottom of the Mariana Trench contains an entire world where fish simply do not go. Number 4. How did our pollution get there first? Imagine traveling down through kilometers of ocean into a place that almost no human has ever seen. No cities, no factories, no roads. And then finding evidence of industrial civilization. Researchers studying amphipods from the Mariana and other deep trenches found persistent pollutants such as PCBs and PBDES inside their bodies. These chemicals were produced at the surface, yet they reached animals living more than 10 kilometers below it. Microplastics have also been recovered from Challenger Deep sediments at depths approaching 10,900 meters. The explanation is unsettling because it shows how connected the deep ocean really is. Particles sink through the water column. Organic matter carries contaminants downward. Animals consume polluted material. Sediments slide down steep trench walls, and the trench itself acts like a gigantic funnel. Material arriving from above can accumulate at its deepest points. The place that seems most isolated from humanity may actually collect some of humanity's longest-lasting waste. Depth did not protect the Mariana Trench from us, and strangely, the same funneling effect helps create the next mystery. Number 3. Why is the deepest seafloor so alive? At Challenger Deep, there is no photosynthesis. No sunlight reaches the bottom. Food arriving from above has already traveled through kilometers of ocean. Scientists once expected the deepest sediments to be extremely low-energy environments. But measurements told a different story. Researchers comparing Challenger Deep sediments with a site around 6 kilometers deep found approximately twice the biological oxygen consumption at the deepest location. They also found more microbial cells in the sediment. The reason appears to be geography. The Mariana Trench is shaped like an enormous collection basin. Dead plankton, fragments of organisms, marine snow, sediment, all of this material can travel down the trench slopes and become concentrated near the bottom. That gives microbes something to eat. Suddenly, the deepest point in the ocean stops looking like a biological desert and begins looking more like a recycling center. Microorganisms break down organic material and help cycle carbon and nutrients through the sediments. The mystery is now bigger than simply asking how life survives there. Scientists want to know how much hadal trenches matter to the chemistry of the global ocean, because when researchers examined the organisms responsible, they found another surprise. Number 2, how much life down there is still unknown. A scoop of Challenger Deep sediment may look like ordinary mud. Genetically, it is anything but ordinary. Researchers examining sediment from the slopes and bottom of Challenger Deep reconstructed hundreds of microbial genomes. In one major investigation, about 26% of the prokaryotic genetic reads represented previously unrecognized diversity, with novelty increasing as the samples became deeper. And these organisms are not merely hanging on. Their genomes reveal microbes capable of breaking down complex organic material, processing hydrocarbons, participating in nitrogen cycling, and interacting with arsenic compounds inside the sediments. That means the deepest mud on Earth contains an invisible ecosystem performing chemical reactions under pressures that would destroy many organisms from the surface. And every expedition samples only a tiny fraction of it. There may be enzymes, metabolisms, and survival strategies in these communities that science has never characterized. That matters because extreme organisms show us just how flexible life can become. But to understand how far that flexibility might go, researchers also look beyond Challenger Deep itself. And that brings us to number 1. Number 1, can the Mariana system show us how life survives without sunlight? Just west of the trench lies a strange geological world known as the Mariana Forearc. Here, one tectonic plate is being forced beneath another. Water interacts with mantle-derived rocks through a process called serpentinization. The chemistry is extreme. Hydrogen and methane can be produced. Highly alkaline fluids rise through enormous serpentinite mud volcanoes on the sea floor. Some of these fluids reach a pH above 12. It sounds like the opposite of a habitable environment. Yet researchers have found evidence of microbial communities surviving there. A 2025 study identified geochemical and lipid evidence of a chemosynthetic subsurface biosphere within Mariana Forearc serpentinite mud. The system contains microorganisms adapted to extraordinary alkalinity, scarce nutrients, and changing chemical conditions. These organisms do not depend on sunlight. Their ecosystem is connected to chemical energy generated by reactions between water and rock. That does not mean scientists discovered where life began, and it does not prove that alien life exists. But environments like this matter because they demonstrate that ecosystems can operate using energy sources very different from the sunlight-driven world we experience at the surface. Similar water-rock reactions are important when researchers investigate possible environments on early Earth and potentially habitable worlds elsewhere in the solar system. And that may be the greatest lesson of the Mariana Trench. Its deepest mystery is not some giant monster hiding beyond the camera. It is that the farther we descend, the more complicated Earth becomes. Fish survive where vertebrate life seems almost impossible. Pollution reaches places humans rarely do. Microbes flourish where researchers expected scarcity. Unknown genetic lineages fill the sediment, and nearby life persists in chemical environments that barely resemble the surface world. We have reached the deepest known point in the ocean, but reaching the bottom and understanding it are two very different things. Which of these Mariana mysteries surprised you the most? Subscribe to Void Millennia for more creatures, mysteries, lost worlds, and discoveries hidden in the deepest places on Earth.